Hey guys, what's up? It's Paul and Ed with the MIDCONVO podcast. And today we have a special guest, Quigley. Quigley is an LA-based content creator. And honestly, super excited to talk with you because I know you're from Minnesota originally.
Yep.
And also you've really paved the way for women entrepreneurs. And thanks for having us in your house.
I'm so excited you guys are here. Welcome.
Hey, and
Thank you.
right now, if you're watching on YouTube, we're chilling in the kitchen. I got probably one of the most aesthetic coffee cups.
You're welcome.
Did you buy this off Instagram, an Instagram ad?
Absolutely.
For sure. This is something that Ed's wife, Christine, would definitely buy.
She loves that kind of, if she was here right now and looking at this kitchen, she would be like, oh my goodness, we need this. We need that now. All right. But before we get into the conversation, let's roll intro music.
I want to first start by saying that I know there's a lot of listeners out there for the MIDCONVO that would love to hear how the heck you got to where you are as an influencer, as someone who's creating content in Los Angeles.
Absolutely. It's funny because I feel like when I was a little girl, if you asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would have said a singer. Like I would have been like, I'm Paula Abdul or Whitney Houston. Like that's who I want to be. But now I feel like you ask most little girls what they want to be when they grow up and they say content creator, which just wasn't a job for little girls like me growing up. So I didn't know that that's what I wanted to do. But now that I'm here, it's been a very zigzaggy journey. Lots of highs and lows. And I like my life.
That's awesome.
Like I really like being a content creator. It has its tough moments, but it's pretty wonderful that I get to play dress up for a living and also just kind of document my own life. I often say that I feel like my job is creating a mini reality TV show for my life and broadcasting it on social media.
That's so cool. I just want to say it's cool to hear just your passion in that, because when we showed up about 20 minutes ago, how you are in person is how you are online.
That's really cool.
And we'll get there in a minute because I feel like that is so rare, living your true authentic self in person and also online. But
thank you.
that's
like the biggest compliment you could possibly get. So thank you.
I just have to call it out because also I just know that often people look at influencers or people of influence online and it almost seems like, holy crap, like how am I able to connect with this person because they're way up here, when it's obvious that you've gotten to where you are just by being your genuine self. But I first want to call out too that you haven't always been just a content creator.
No.
We also checked out your back little music studio thing.
Hey, don't forget the orange tree back there.
Hey, in the orange tree. We'll roll some B-roll if you're watching on YouTube.
Yeah, don't forget the orange tree.
I want to start with that because I feel like music, from like the research that we've done on you, has played such an influence on what you're doing.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys dug this up, but I was on American Idol when I was 19.
Wow.
And that really, coming from Minnesota and being that young and impressionable really shaped me, mostly just from the standpoint of I didn't realize how manufactured things could be, because I really thought I was going into, a singing competition when I was really just going as to play a role on a show. And with how my body was sort of, let's just say this, I was sexualized. Like I did like a one bikini shoot when I was in college. And of course that is what the press and the media decides is like my story.
Wow.
And like being hypersexualized as a young woman and kind of like feeling the narrative be shaped around my body and not around my talent or my worth was really messed up.
Yeah. It opened your eyes to everything.
Was messed up.
Quack.
Funk.
Yeah. And so that I think was the first sort of like, I took the blindfold off, came out of Minnesota and was like, okay, this is what it's really like out there. And if I am going to, live out my dreams in whatever way that is, I have to get some tough skin and, rewrite my narrative in the way I want it written.
Wow.
And that's why I changed my name.
Hey.
Because everyone's always like, why do you go by Quigley? Well, because if you Google Casey Carlson, which is my given name, you're going to see all the American Idol stuff. And I was like, well, F that. They're not going to brand me.
Wow.
That's cool. I'm kind of mind blown a little bit. Like you created a new name for yourself. You pivoted. which kudos to you, because I feel like a lot of people could give up after your experience like that. They'd be like throwing in the towel, gonna go back to just doing what's safe. So how did you? Was it just like sheer willpower, motivation? Was there anything that really drove you to switching to Quigley and becoming a content creator? And
yeah, it was therapy. So essentially the music just became an unsafe space for me. I did actually, after American Idol, move out to LA and start like writing and producing with different people. And I worked on music for a little while, but I just felt like the music industry was totally male driven. And I felt like everything I did was to impress these guys that I would get into the room with as producers. And it constantly made me feel like I had to take the way that I looked and like use it to my advantage. And that just felt slimy to me. So I decided to learn how to produce. I produce my own music now. I didn't want to have to be dependent on any other person to create my art. Like, think about the amount of I'm just going to go on a MIDCONVO
let's go.
diatribe here. But
Golden
think
nugget.
about the amount of little girls out there who love singing, love music. And in order for them to make it in the industry that they want to be in, they have to go into a room with a man and pour their heart and soul out and have this intimate writing experience with an older man. Yeah. And in order for you to succeed in your industry, you have to make that man like you.
Wow. That's... Wow.
Like,
and
you know what I mean? Like it to me, it just, and there was no one telling me, oh, you have to do this, but it was just the unwritten message. And I just had a few experiences in the music industry that I felt were not for me. And so I was like, I'm going in a different direction where I feel safe and where I feel like I can creatively express myself without the pressure of that.
Wow.
And so I started on Instagram.
Yeah.
I was like, Instagram's just going to be this safe place where I can be myself and like be creative and no one's going to judge me. Okay, that's a totally different tangent. But so what ended up happening is that I was trying to make press materials for my music. So I would do different photo shoots with different photographers, to create images for my MySpace or whatnot. And these photographers, I just had so much fun working with them. Like, we would get together. I would dress up in my mom's like crazy clothes from the 80s and they would take cool pictures of me and it was like this art form. And we started sharing those. And obviously, as you know, in the very beginning of Instagram, it was all about photographers. And so the more photographers I worked with, the bigger my following grew. And I had no following from American Idol, by the way. For those of you listening who are like, this girl probably just got to where she was because she had all these followers from Idol.
Wow.
Social media did not exist when I was on American Idol.
Wow. Was it MySpace Music or
MySpace existed. Twitter had just been invented.
Wow.
And I left the show with 3,000 followers.
That's crazy. After being on TV.
Yeah.
Yo, did you have pure volume streams though?
I don't even know what that is. What is that?
Oh man, it's like Bandcamp.
I don't know.
I'm trying to like at least get some sort of like
middle ground.
Yeah, middle ground. But that's crazy because the origin of Quigley came from that.
Yeah.
That's so
also
cool.
It's cool to hear that the music industry did play an influence on kind of you experiencing that creative side. Who are some of those photographers early on that you had met that you feel like definitely influence your passion and interest for like what you do now?
So Sarah Kiesling was one of my
Minnesota
besties.
girl.
Yeah, besties from Minnesota. Her and I really kind of, I don't know, we had this wonderful relationship where we would just get together and she knew exactly what she wanted. I knew exactly what I wanted to achieve and we would just play. Yeah. And it was just there was no pressure, right? Because I put so much pressure on myself with the music industry that to get to go and be creative with someone and just do it because it filled our souls was just so wonderful. So Sarah, shout out, love you girl. She actually introduced me to Jordan Voth, who ended up being a huge influence on me in my life. And he reached out when he came to LA. I was still working on music and he was like, hey, do you want to meet up and take some photos? I'm Sarah's friend. He was a total stranger. At that time, it was not normal to like meet up with people on Instagram. He was like my first like blind Instagram date. Wow. It wasn't a date, but it felt like, you're just meeting someone out of the blue when you're shooting with them. I remember those days.
Just like random person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Jordan and I started shooting together. And then we planned a bunch of trips together. We did some trips where we just made content. and he ended up shooting my wedding.
Wow. Full circle.
Yep, went full circle. And also like a lot of my very first blog features were of the work that we had done together, because as I got into planning my wedding, I also was extremely creatively inspired. And so I did this like giant photo shoot where we shot 10 gowns and I art directed the whole thing, and it was in Arizona, and I like sourced all these flowers and did all these installations. And he was like totally down to do all that.
Dang.
Legend.
So thank you, Jordan.
That's sweet.
But that's sort of what like put me on the map, I feel like, as a content creator, because of that wild imagination that I had from working with all those different photographers and like accumulating all of their collective creativity.
I remember Sarah Kiesling, because I'm obviously from Minnesota originally. I would look at her as like the Warped Tour girl. I loved Warped Tour. And I actually...
Everyone had the side bangs.
Yo, I got to give her credit. I actually toured with 3 musicians, did 3 U.S. tours. I worked for Republic Records for a summer because she made it look like it was possible. And she did make it look possible. Aww. So, Sarah, you the best.
Dude,
I love you.
That's so cool.
That.
One thing that really stood out to me about your Instagram and just your website, I mean, you're just doing so much creative stuff. But one thing that really stood out to me was, those professional photos that you take, like the portraits of yourself in really cool places, wearing really cool outfits, really showing your personality. And I feel like a lot of that gets lost on social media. On social media, people are just either not really trying that hard to build their personal brand. And when they are trying, it's very cliche type of content, right? Like posting in a like cliche location in front of a car or something, like the influencer stuff. Yours is so unique and creative. I'm wondering if that's just baked into who you are as a person, or was that pretty calculative as far as the like trying to be different, or was that intentional, or was it not intentional?
I also think it's like the awareness of the audience.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It was a journey. So where do we start? In about 2019 was sort of the turning point for me. I had been building my brand and building, my Instagram following off of the fashion world. And I had been emulating a bunch of different fashion bloggers who I thought were so wonderful. Mm-hmm. And I got to this point where like my audience wouldn't grow. And I was like, well, why did I hit the ceiling? Like, what is it that I can do to move past? I just like couldn't get past 100. I think I got stuck at like 100,000. I was like, I couldn't get past it. And then I had this aha moment. I think it was one of the girls from The Bachelor.
Hey.
Shout out to Becca Tilley. She posted a photo, I think, and it was just her. She was wearing no makeup, and she was just like unfiltered in front of the camera, in front of like a white wall. And she just talked about her mental health. She talked about what like the pressure of living in the public eye, the pressure of being perfect all of the time. And I just broke down into tears, and I was like, here I am trying to compare myself to all these girls who I think have the perfect life, when the one post that has moved me recently was this person being raw and transparent and honest. And so that sort of became the thing that I latched onto in terms of like who I aspired to be like, because I wanted to make people feel something with my content. I didn't want it to be jealousy. Mm-hmm. For me, I had to make that conscious shift of, is my content making people feel something, or is it making them feel jealous? Like I still, of course, want to be aspirational, but at the same time, like I want to provide like a meaningful, deep, soulful connection. And so from there, I started completely changing my content strategy. And I wrote my first Instagram course, which is social media, emphasis on soul.
That's amazing.
So in 2020, we came out with that class and did a bunch of workshops. And I think that I feel like that's really where my true value as a creator has come from, because I've met so many people that did those workshops in 2020. This is what ages me a little. This ages me a little because like I'll go to influencer events now in LA, and I'll have these like 12-year-old girls come up to me and be like, I took your TikTok class like so long ago, and now I have 1 million TikTok followers. And I'll be like, you mean so long ago as in a year and a half ago?
Oh my gosh.
And I'll be like so proud because they're so my little babies, but that's then amazing. Also like,
yeah,
what the fuck am I doing wrong now? Because I don't have a million TikTok followers. I'm like, you teach me. Let's turn the tables here.
Yeah, full circle. You're gonna intern for me, and let's kick it for coffee. I just want to shout out, like, okay, social media. You created this course, to help others grow and also be authentic with social media.
Yes.
What the frick? Like, that's huge.
Thank
it
you.
also is a testament to, like, you just being like, do you know what? Even though social media says this about what you need to do in order to, like, be trendy and be popular or be like an influencer, you can actually do it this way. I don't care if, like, people are listening and are like influencers, whether photographers or videographers or whatever. I think it's valuable to, like, point that out.
Thank you.
Because you're now at how many followers on, like, Instagram and, like, social media total?
Total around 500.
500. And I'm sure there was years where you're like, how the heck am I going to, like, grow my brand?
Right.
And, like, at least for me, I've tried it all. I've done things that, like, don't feel right. I've done things that feel right. And it's cool that you found that lane.
Yeah. Finding, that's pretty much what the course is about. It's like just really figuring out what that authentic voice is. And
it's so valuable.
It sounds like how to be authentic.
Yeah.
It sounds like something that should come so easily to all of us, but we've spent our lives putting on a filter and curating our lives in ways like just because that's the only thing we know.
Yeah.
And so to then be told that you just get to be yourself and do whatever makes you happy, what is that?
Yeah, that's cool. It's cool too that you, like, say that, and then you also have, like, the curriculum for people, like, the steps for people to do it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, there's celebrities I look up to where they're like, you know, just keep grinding.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, the blanket advice, you know?
Yeah.
So much of it is, and to be really honest, when people ask me about the class, I tell them it's a self-care class.
Whoa.
Like, it's not, it ain't even about social media. It is so much more about just, like, an introspective look at why you're getting in your own way.
Yeah. That brings me to something that you're really, really vocal about online, which I appreciate. And as someone who I've coached a lot of freelancers, I know Ed gets a lot of people tapping into him about just the roller coaster that comes with being a creative and a freelancer. Sure. What does, like, mental health mean to you? And also, like, coming out of the pandemic, holy freaking moly, right?
Did I mention I have a 2-year-old?
We're not even there yet. And it's like still a great topic.
Yeah.
So I just want to say, like, it's one thing for you to be like, yeah, mental health, like, it's important to be aware of it and like to vocalize it, but you're an advocate for it. Yeah. So, like, tell me a little bit about that. And then I want to hear about that transition from being Quigley and your husband, Alex.
Yeah.
To now having a little one.
Oh gosh, for sure. Well, I think the key with mental health for me was the comparison aspect of it.
That's huge.
And, you know, so much of your life as a content creator is engaging with other accounts. You have to do it. You have to spend the time creating a community online and consuming other people's content. Because not only are you, like, creating those connections within your industry, but you're also staying up to date on current trends. So there's really no way of escaping that.
That's so true.
And in order for me to really be honest with myself about that, I had to set certain boundaries with the way that I use apps and the habits that I create around social media. So that's one of the parts of the class is just really, you know, your habits.
Wow.
Parts of the class. And then for me, it was I have to be honest with the fact that I'm comparing myself.
Wow.
I have to tell my audience, this happens to me sometimes. Sometimes I'm looking at an event at New York Fashion Week and I get jealous. And I feel like, well, what am I doing? Or like, why didn't I get invited to that?
Totally.
And just by being honest with my audience about feeling those feels, I feel like I'm not obviously trying to perpetuate it, and I'm not trying to get attention from people to be like, oh, Quigley, you're so great. You should have been there. Like, we love you. I'm not asking for that. And I think that's why a lot of people hold back from being vulnerable on social media is because they think it's a cry for attention, or like they're looking 100%. Like they want to get the engagement out of like a woe is me type of post. But you have to shut off that voice. Like there's a way to be vulnerable without looking needy.
I like that you're reframing it's a reframing process.
Yeah.
Of you sharing. It's actually not about getting the affirmations.
Yeah.
It's simply like an inner working process.
It's for yourself more than anything, you know, just like feeling, it's like a huge weight on your shoulder. Yeah. It's so funny because like the other day, me and Paul were like, when we woke up at our Airbnb, I was simping to him so hard about like, I'm proud of where I've come, but at the same time, there are times when I'm just scrolling on Reels or scrolling on TikTok. I'm like, wow, I was so proud of what I just did like a week ago. And then this just makes me feel like I feel like I'm an infant in the
totally
content
not
creative.
relevant.
Yeah, like what am I even doing? It's like an identity crisis every time you have that feeling. But it's so fascinating to hear from you that you lean into that and become more of your authentic self versus putting like your foot on the gas and trying to like feed into that comparison, like make something better or like try to compare yourself constantly to that person.
I still feed the beast.
Yeah.
I still tell myself I need to do more all the time. I don't know if I'll ever be able to turn that side of myself off.
Oh my God.
But at least I think in acknowledging it, I give permission to other people to have the same feelings and not feel shame or guilt around them.
So like when you say habits and routines, I would be super interesting to know, like, what do you mean by that? Like, are you talking about your routines, like, on a day-to-day basis? Like, is it all mental? Is it also, like, physical actions you're doing? Like, when you wake up, do you have certain things you do? Or, like, when you go to bed, are there certain things you do? Like, if someone is struggling with some of the feelings we've been talking about in this podcast, like, what can they do?
So I think one of the most important things is a rule that I have that is no phone in the bed.
Hey.
No phone in the bed. Yep. Truly, like, it's a very small thing that you can do to really help your mental health. Like, if you are laying in freaking bed and you are looking at social media, it hurts. I don't think it's ever not painful. I feel like, and maybe I'm just doing it wrong.
Yeah.
So I don't do it in bed. And another thing is, like, I replace the phone by the side of my bed with a glass of water.
Hey.
And if I think to reach for my phone, I just reach for the water instead.
Hydrate.
Truly, it's a little thing, but it sets your nervous system like in motion, I think, and it just like gets you mentally out of the headspace of needing that as a little addiction. So that's one thing, and I'm not always perfect. Like there will be days that I do grab it and I accidentally open Instagram. But the other thing that I do is a very simple like, do I have the ick or not? And if I'm scrolling and I get the ick, like we shut the app. We just do. And then another thing that I try to do is not actually spend too much time scrolling and be more intentional about the type of content that I consume. For example, if I know I'm a creator and I know that I need to, as a part of my job, engage with 10 accounts that are similar to mine in one day. Instead of just like looking through my feed to find the photos, I will specifically go to these 10 accounts, engage with them, engage with the people engaging on their content, because I'm going to tailor my audience to the types of accounts that I want, like their audience. Does that make sense? So if I'm interacting on their posts, then that's a way for me to get visibility there. But then once I'm done with that, goodbye app.
Yeah.
Bye.
I love that you interact with specific tailored accounts because that's a part of your creative process. And I feel like that's something that I need to hear sometimes, that I'm like looking at accounts for like people that do drone videos, like FPV. And I'm like, all right, I got to chill. There's no way I'm ever going to be doing that. I need to be focused on this type of content.
Interesting.
I want to talk about real quick, because I know our audience, whether they're freelancers or entrepreneurs, when you take the leap to going from someone who is either single or married to now having kids, your day in the life, your week, your business looks different. I want to hear kind of what that transition's been like, because even Ed and I off the mic, we were talking the other day when we landed in LA. He's like, bro, like, what is it like having kids and being full-time freelance entrepreneur?
Like, how do you even do it?
And how do you navigate that? Because I feel like that needs to be talked about more.
Because it is like when you were talking about, you know, having your foot on the gas, like it feels sometimes like social media is this like beast of a machine that you constantly have to feed. So it's like when you're trying to adult, when you're trying to like take care of your child, like how do you even have the time, or not just the time, it's the mental space. Like time is one thing, and then it's like the mental energy.
Oh yeah, and then try adding the female hormones to the mix. So here's the thing. You, as a parent, and you'll know this, you realize how fast things go very quickly, right? Like I'm sure it feels like yesterday that you became a dad. Whereas for us, it's both been around 2 years. It's gone by in a blink. Okay. And so for me, the biggest thing is that every time I'm with my son and I feel myself go to the space of somewhere else mentally, I'm thinking about the next thing I have to post on Instagram, or I'm thinking about the next trip I have to plan, or the next photo shoot that I'm working on. If I feel myself go there mentally and I can be conscious and aware of it, I ask myself, is this really important right now? Is this thing I'm worrying about really more important than being present with my 2-year-old as he's trying to play dinosaurs with me? And if I'm, let's just say I'm nursing him like down for a nap. Like if I feel myself going like, oh, why won't you get to sleep? I just have to go do stuff now. I think, what would I think if I were 80 and I were able to travel back in time to this exact moment? How would I want to be around my 2-year-old?
That's so good.
How would I want my aura to be? What would I want to be focused on? And it really brings that perspective where I'm able to slow the F down.
That's so good, because the industry is all about speed. And to be told you have to be still.
Oh, it's
like so hard. Yeah, it's like
it's
almost like not even in the picture. Like you don't even
crazy
talk about
when you're
that.
used to pulling. I used to build like 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m. edits, and then when we had our first, I was like, "All right, I'll help with the kid. I've got to like breastfeed and stuff, and then pass him off." What do you want to say?
No, I just want to. Yeah.
A piece of advice that I got before I became a mom was that balance doesn't exist.
Wow.
And to try and tell yourself to create balance in your life is going to be constantly setting yourself up for failure. You can't take from one bucket and give to the other bucket when it comes to parenting and work. You just can't. So don't set yourself up for the expectations that you're going to be great at balancing it. It's a show. It's It's very hard for me and my husband. Like, it's not easy. We went from, before we had Max, we had 6 or 7 employees.
Wow.
Now it's just me and my husband. Like, we scaled down.
Wow.
And I think that was a very intentional choice. I remember saying to my husband, I was like, I want to work less. When we have a kid, I really want to work less. I don't want to be pulled in so many different directions. I don't want to be traveling as much. I want to enjoy this time when he's really little. And we scaled back, and it's one of the best decisions we could have ever made. Our bank account is obviously not as happy. But like, I think we needed that.
You're happier, and also you have more energy, maybe?
Some days.
Yeah.
Some days. Matcha helps for that.
It evens out.
Matcha helps. Actually, there's a book that I highly recommend for anyone who is in that shoes where they're trying to figure out, what it looks like to be a parent and an entrepreneur in this time. And it's called Do Less by Kate Northrup.
Ooh.
Do Less. Mostly tailored towards the female demographic, but I think men would really relate as well. But it's just really that process of simplification, being present, and not putting that pressure on yourself that society often pushes that we need to be doing more.
Yeah.
Wow. I want to talk about the scaling down.
Yeah.
That is kind of, isn't really interesting.
First of all, that's awesome. Mentioned. That works for you guys.
I mean, for most people it would be considered like kind of a failure, but I think that it was really necessary.
And for listeners or people that are tuning in that have like followed your brand and like how you've grown, they've seen how your husband has kind of played a role in that, and like how he shows up in content all the time and stories, and now your son does. What does that look like working with your spouse? Because when I first started working with Sammy, my wife, at an agency years ago, and now we hop on projects together, it was a crap show at first.
Oh, yeah. No, there is literally not one part of me that is like, working with my spouse is the best.
Yeah.
No, not one. We are at each other's throats. We are definitely oil and water. I love him so much as my husband, but as a business partner, I want to kill him. And he knows that. We talk about it all the time.
Oh my gosh.
It's really hard. And to be honest, I don't recommend it. I think right now it's, like I said, out of necessity that we both prioritize time with our son so much.
That's amazing.
That we know that this is the best possible way that we can each spend the most amount of time with him and make the most amount of money and like optimize our little situation. So yeah, we're good for now, but this is a temporary thing. He is in a lot of my content, but I'm the creative director, and he knows that.
That's awesome.
And but I think that's hard on him because I'm the one saying, like, if it's not my idea, we're not making it, and he knows that, and I know that, and we've accepted that. But that, it's hard for him. It limits him, and I think that he would thrive in a scenario where he was able to take the reins a bit more and not have to like run ideas by me. I want that for him.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Speaking of social media, and one thing I noticed about your content is you're so good at just getting content that's authentic. We talked about being authentic before, and I don't know how quick it is, how much you think about it when you're thinking of captions or a post. I think these days, especially with how fast content is, like everyone's taking their phone, doing vlogs, get ready with me. It's like all this very quick content. But you come from in your journey where you did like very, very crazy high quality photo shoots with like professional photographers and all that. How do you find that balance? Because that's something that I deal with. Are there times or is it just a gut feeling where like today I'm just going to create, I'm going to use my phone, not stress too much about it, get it up? Or is that more strategic on your part?
I think you have to do both.
Yeah.
I always have a photo shoot that I'm planning.
Wow, nice.
Like in my brain, I'm always like, okay, I usually think of things in terms of holidays because with the social media campaigns, the way that most brands work is that they're either like, they're thinking about Christmas, they're thinking about Valentine's, and then they're thinking about festival season. And then, it's like you go down the list. So the first thing I'll do when I think about my content strategy is like, what's the next big, thing that brands are looking at promoting? So I'll always have a content shoot in mind that I'm working on, like a big elaborate thing, right? So like right now, festival season's coming up. My birthday is in April. I like to do.
Hey, me too.
I like to do a blowout shoot for my birthday. What's your birthday?
April 9th.
29th.
Oh,
nice.
Okay.
And so I like to do a big blowout thing for my birthday where I like curate a big dinner with like flowers and that kind of stuff. It's just like my way of getting to have a little mini wedding every year.
That's cool.
And like, get the Pinterest
Hey, honey,
stuff
can
out.
we talk budget about my birthday dinner?
Yeah. Oh, no, we do that a lot.
That.
Yeah. We talked about that today. I was like, hey, babe, I'm just like going to look at the budget for this year for my birthday. Can we send everyone to Cabo? Yes. Okay, great.
That's awesome.
So I'm always planning a big shoot.
Yeah.
But then I'm also always planning my paid content. So obviously, that's like, we try not to keep it more than 20% of what we do. But yeah, that's about 20%
like
of
brand deals, sponsorships.
Yeah. And to be honest, a lot of times I'll find myself falling into the trap of spending too much time on paid content because obviously you want to make it really good, but then kind of neglecting my organic content, which I think is one of the biggest mistakes that creators can make, and which makes engagement really tricky because, that one sponsored post, it's like a clothesline.
Oh, for sure.
Imagine your Instagram or your TikTok is a clothesline and you have one sponsored post and that no one engages on, it pulls the rest of your shit down.
Wow, that's good.
So you have to be,
facts.
Yeah, you got to be careful. And then the other percentage, if there is any space left in my brain, is the what's trending right now. And the way that I do that is I just find the audio.
Yep.
You go on TikTok, you go on Reels, you find literally one of the first 3 videos that comes up, you use that audio. And then if it's whatever's in your camera roll,
wow.
a sound comes up and it sounds like somebody, you're supposed to like do a goofy dance for it. Well, you look in your camera roll of what you've already shot where there's a goofy dance video and you throw that shit up in that moment.
I like that. Working smarter, not harder with it. Where some people think too hard about it.
But I think you have to have all 3 of those in order to really function.
I like the 3 buckets there.
Yeah.
I seriously love that because I think coming from the video production side and just like, even this podcast, if you're watching, like we have cameras set up, we have audio, like it's more produced. And so it's super hard for me at times to turn on some of that like organic, what makes it authentic to me and just post it up on Instagram and not worry about it.
Can I give you a hack?
Yeah.
The stuff that's quick doesn't need to be authentic. The stuff that's quick, you can copy. A great artist steals. Okay,
that's good.
This is how people produce a ton of content.
They so good,
steal
though.
The quick stuff. You have to just copy the formula and go.
Yeah.
Someone's video is trending. Copy the exact formula, make it your own, and go.
That's good.
But what will make you a true artist is the stuff that's curated.
That takes
time. That's really developed with your full heart and soul. That's just you.
Yeah.
That's good. All right.
I'm learning.
I got some juicy questions I want to end with.
Yeah.
First one to kind of get to the next one is at the MIDCONVO, we love talking about things that most people aren't want to talk about, especially in the entrepreneurial space and freelance space. First one is, what is something that you feel like most people aren't willing to talk about that you constantly find yourself thinking about where you're like, only if people that are content creators would like bring this into their brand. Like if someone's trying to pick your brain and you could give them like one golden nugget, what would it be?
Wait, there was a bunch of questions in there.
Sorry. What is a golden nugget that you would give to someone who's like maybe like an up and coming content creator that you feel like has kind of helped you get to where you are?
Well, there's so many. I kind of like want to go back to the first part of that question though, which was like,
what's something that like people don't talk
yeah, what's
about?
something that people
Yeah,
don't
what's
That
something
you
people don't
think
talk
about
about
a lot, where you're like, wow, this is never on social media. Like, why do people not talk about this?
Mhm.
You know?
breastfeeding.
Wow.
No, truly,
love
like there's
that.
so much misinformation about it and it's stigmatized. And, you know, obviously we started this conversation out with me talking about my experience on Idol and talking about being hypersexualized
Yeah.
and the amount of people in the zeitgeist that think that breasts are for the male gaze and like shun
Wow.
being public about breastfeeding is just it's so disturbing for me. So I just would say to the moms out there, like, if you're doing it, do it like big.
Yeah.
Like don't like go to your friend's house and whip your boob out. Like do that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
Yeah.
censor yourself. And that's I know you have a lot of male audience.
No, I think what's cool about that is I didn't realize that until we had our first child.
Yeah.
And you don't know until you know.
No.
And also it's something that, again, you're kind of blinded about until you get to that point. So
And there's a lot to learn.
yeah.
There's a lot to learn.
Yeah.
That's good.
You subconsciously get like very curated yourself without even knowing it by being on these platforms.
Oh my
like,
God, absolutely.
the way you talk, the way you create, everything is affected just by scrolling for, let's say, 30 minutes to an hour a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it comes out. It comes out unknowingly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So leave your feedback loop and learn a little bit about breastfeeding.
Yo, we love talking about pricing. We love talking about negotiation, pitching on the MIDCONVO. Can you give us like an average brand deal that you're seeing as someone who has, you know, around 500,000 followers across all platforms?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say my favorite campaigns right now are the ones that are long-term partnerships. Like in the 20 to 40K range would be like for, let's just say 3 static posts, 3 story sets, and like a couple TikToks.
Yeah.
So that's like obviously the best.
Yeah.
But then I would say the average job is between 5 and 8K, and that's like a story and a static.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
For us where we're at. I mean, I don't know how.
That's
No, that's cool.
Varies,
That's amazing.
Do you find yourself still doing outreach at kind of the stage that you're at, or is it more kind of
just come to
sifting through
you.
the DMs and the emails with like collaborations?
I would say if you ask my manager, she would probably say that about 50% comes through our inbox as a request. And then maybe 50, sometimes maybe a little bit more from the agency. So from her side, she's always working on reaching out. Yeah, reaching out. And I don't know how much of that is like, you know, a brand has come to my management company and says like, hey, who do you want to submit for this? Or if she's like specifically going to previous brand partners that we've had and like renegotiating deals. But that's where it's at.
That's sweet.
For the sponsored post, when you're talking about the clothesline and like obviously a sponsored post can, you know, if you're not careful, if you only were focused on paid content, it could bring down like your brand image and just
Your
who
engagement.
you are. When you're first starting out as a content creator, let's say on any platforms, now TikTok now, it's so much stuff on TikTok. How aggressive should you be about which brands you do say yes to? Because I feel like early on, like let's say you're talented, creative, you're going to start to get a lot of people who are like, hey, we should work together. Let's give you product. Let's give you $100 here. And you feel like because you're not used to it, you're like, I want to say yes to everything because that's what the influencers are doing.
I've got a great soundbite for you.
Go for it.
It's called How No Earned Me $1 Million.
Whoa, that's good.
So in 2019, is it 2019? 2019, at the end of the year, I asked my manager how much money we turned down because I really wanted to know how much we had said no to. Because I had struggled in the past with saying no to brands that I didn't like ethically believe in or brands that were, not clean or XYZ. And we had turned down over $200,000 worth of Instagram posts, brand partnerships, And I remember thinking like, I can't believe that.
Yeah.
Like in that moment, I was like, F.
That's great.
Because you're
Yeah.
like,
Wow,
wow, that's a
crazy.
lot of money. But then the following year was the year that my business grossed $1 million.
Wow.
And so for me, I really do feel like having that thick skin of knowing when to say no is really what put me in a position to have our best performing year.
Wow. Because of all the no you said that year, you were able to do other stuff that led you to your biggest year.
Exactly. And diversify our income. We were just doing brand deals and we branched out. We started social media and we're able to make that educational side a part of our business. And I don't know if you've heard the statistic, but I think you need like 7 revenue streams to become a millionaire.
Wow.
So I was like, check.
Yeah.
But yeah, part of that is just being really, really vigorous about protecting your brand. If you wouldn't use it, it's a no.
Mm-hmm.
It's an immediate no if you would not use the product.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
One of the hardest things, and people don't know this. Sorry to go off on another tangent.
No, let's hear it.
One of the hardest things is that consumers don't realize that brands don't have the time to send their products to influencers, wait for them to try the products, and then decide if they're going to hire them. Like some brands do, but most brands are just like, you got yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
Are you taking the job or are you not?
Wow.
So as an influencer, to say to a brand, hey, could you just send me your product so that I can try it out before I decide if I want to work for you?
No.
Rare.
Yeah.
That you have that kind of time.
So true.
And it's not because they don't want you to authentically use it. It's because they just don't have the time.
They
They're
work
working
too
on
fast.
they're working on a timeline. This stuff, the turnover is so fast.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, like if you really want to say yes to the brand and you haven't used it before, get in the car and go buy it.
Yeah.
And a lot of influencers aren't willing to do that.
Yeah.
Dang. What is one of your favorite brand partnerships you've ever done?
Aww. The first one that came to mind is actually a JCPenney campaign.
Hey.
That's cool.
We got such creative freedom. And this was actually surrounding one of their collections that they did for engagement rings. And my husband and I got to like plan a little anniversary session where he surprised me with a diamond.
Yeah.
And it kind of I got to go in the mindset of like wedding planner again. And I love that.
That's sweet.
It was just a really magical shoot.
I love that because Ed's a huge JCPenney guy. But that's cool. Do you find yourself, have you ran into any brand deals, I'd say like within the last year or two that you've been like, dang, this was just not it? So then you're able to almost add that to your list of like, do you know what, going forward, let's not take on these type of projects?
Absolutely.
That's cool.
Absolutely. One of the biggest things as a creator is you got to read the brief. And if they don't have a brief for you, like you ask them for the brief. You want to know exactly what their expectations are, because if their expectations don't align with what you want to make as a creator or what your audience expects you to make, then you're going to be butting heads the whole time.
Wow.
And so what I say to a lot of brands is, if I don't have the creative liberty to make the kind of content that I know my audience responds to, like it ain't.
So you're honest with it.
You have to be so clear.
Yeah.
Because otherwise there's so many back and forths. And a lot of brands have written into their deals like 2 rounds of edits. But like 2 rounds of edits could include an entire reshoot. And that's a lot of time.
That's so true. Revisions could mean way more heavy lifting than some content creator. I mean, being video editor, like.
Yeah. If it's like, for example, I had done a campaign where there accidentally was a Ralph's bag in the background.
That's the worst when there's something accidentally
and they were like, can
in
you
there?
just blur that out in the video? And I'm like, I'm not that talented of an editor. Like, that's not my forte. So I just like slapped a little GIF over it. and we made do. That. But I was like not about to do the entire shoot over again just because of the Ralph's bag.
Oh that's my crazy. Goodness. All right. To round this podcast out, where do you see yourself in, let's say, 2 to 3 years?
The Maldives.
Ooh, dang.
I would like.
I'm about to go in.
Wait for the birthday party?
Yes, for the birthday party. We're going to the Maldives for my 40th.
Ooh, that'd be awesome.
No, that's a little ways off. So I think I would really like to expand social media. My husband and I have talked about doing like workshops for teenagers about social etiquette. That's something we're really passionate about.
An amazing idea.
So I'm hoping that becomes like I would love for us to be kind of like traveling speakers where we go around and we talk to young kids and do seminars on how to act online and how to not act. So that's something that I'm really passionate about. I would like to maybe be living in Minneapolis on a lake.
Wow,
maybe,
that's awesome.
What's formerly known as Lake Calhoun.
Ooh, Day Makaska.
Yeah,
right.
Bidet
Hey, Google it.
Yeah. Wait, how do you pronounce it?
Day Makaska.
I thought it was Bidet Makaska.
That works.
I'm so sorry.
If we're doing closed captioning, our editor's going to be so confused.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
No,
Anyways,
I think that's it.
That's where I want to be.
Sweet. Dang, Lake of the Isles is also
I'm also I'm gonna put out more music that's coming.
That's awesome.
Working on it right now, and then we want to come out with a sauce line.
Oh my
This
goodness.
is totally left field, but like I just really love condiments.
That is so cool.
And yeah, you're gonna see some stuff in Whole Foods eventually coming from the Quigley team. Yes.
I would love to promote anything you have. Like if people want to find more about you, where can they sign up for this future sauce line? All those things. Where should we send people?
Sauces, course, all the things.
Yeah.
So officially Quigley.com is just going to be your hub for everything.
Nice.
Officially Quigley on Instagram. I'm actually Quigley Goody on TikTok, and then socialmedia.com. SOULCIAL.
That is so sweet. Thank you so much for letting us in your house.
It was an awesome conversation. Yeah. The house is beautiful, and the conversation was just so awesome.
I really like talking.
I
don't get to do it a lot. So thanks for having me a part of this conversation.
Thanks for being a voice for not only women entrepreneurs, but also, heck, I've been following you for quite some time. And it's been an inspiration. So I appreciate you.
Because just keep complimenting me. I don't get it enough these days. Thank you.
Yo, guys, leave us a review if you found value from this episode. We're about to go pick some oranges. And then maybe give us a little sneak peek at some of your music you've been working on.
Oh my God, yeah.
All right. Catch you guys next episode.